Howdy, 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 my name is Anachi Sasuke, and welcome back to Let's Read the Homestuck Epilogues. I realize that we're a few weeks out from it being a year since these came out, and I'm not done yet. As we know, I wasn't really intending on finishing it all, but it sounds like I need to if I want the rest of Pester Quest to make sense. And I really want to play more Pester Quest, but I feel like I can't until I do this, so... Terezi is munching her way through another tin of human fatherly tobacco as John crawls into the back seat. This has been their ritual for several days. Precisely how many, they couldn't say. Between her frequent naps and his diligence in keeping a lookout for any additional survivors, they have been losing track of time. John, eyes unfocused, stares at the expanse of nothingness. Perhaps he imagines it, but it seems as if the emptiness itself is curving against the staggering weight of the black hole they orbit. He hasn't seen any sign of Vriska. He's seen no one at all. It's just him, Terezi, and the sky on all sides. He scoots back to lean against the car door, drawing his knees up to his chest, unsure how to act around Terezi or how much room to give her. She holds out a handful of tobacco. Want some delicious dry candy shavings? Ew, no! You have any idea what you're eating right now? She shrugs and licks the crumbs off her hand. His eyes can't help but follow the motion of her tongue. It leaves a trail of faintly teal saliva behind that glistens in the light coming from through the windows. It's like a poison plant. You're not supposed to eat it. You're supposed to put it in a pipe and smoke it. I think that if I ate it, I'd probably get mouth cancer or something. Well, if you were blind and saw with your nose and tongue, it would taste like chocolate. Seriously? So, is that kind of like synesthesia? Are all trolls like that, or just you? I've always wondered. She gives him a narrow-eyed look. Her thick eyelashes shadow her gaze. He feels anxious without knowing why, as if he's waiting for something to happen, for something to change. Why, John, are you curious about me? No, I mean, yes? Your whole licking thing has always been kind of weird. A lot of things about you are weird. I feel like we talked a lot, but I still know almost nothing about you since so many of our conversations were just bullshit. Yeah, I guess. I always felt like you were trying to fight me for some reason. Like, I can't just talk to you normally. It always has to be, like, a jokey argument. Or a snark-off or something. For it to be a snark-off, you'd have to prove a worthy opponent, Egbert. See, like that. You just always do that. Terezi's expression changes in a subtle way, slowly, like the tide pulling out. She snaps the tobacco tin shut and sets it down on the floor of the car. I suppose I can be pretty difficult to be around. I have no idea what voice to give Terezi, to be honest. Oh no, I didn't mean... I'm sorry, Terezi. He unfolds his leg so he can get a comforting hand on her shoulder. He wonders if he's allowing it to linger there longer than it should. Look, I've been really depressed and antisocial for the last few years, so I guess going on this insane suicide mission out of nowhere has been making me get all, philosophical about my relationships and shit. I think I've been out here long enough that I'm starting to forget what certain basic things feel like. If that makes any sense. I feel like I'm all numb inside, and this fucking tooth in my chest isn't helping either. I think I just want to have a real conversation with someone. He pushes her shoulder lightly so that they're looking at each other. Terezi, I want to have a real conversation with you. Terezi makes very close eye and nose contact with John in a way that comes across as intently sincere. This arrangement lasts for about 10 seconds before her mouth cracks in a grin and she doubles over laughing. Oh my god, that's the lamest thing I've heard in my entire life. Oh, come on. Egbert, no matter how old or young you are, you never change. You are positively, truly, and undeniably the biggest fucking dork I've ever known. Okay, I get it. Sorry I said anything. Jeez. Oh, don't look like that. I didn't say it was a bad thing. I actually find it refreshing. She pulls her legs up under her. Her shoes catch the light and reflect it all over the ceiling in little red dots. John's heart skips a beat. You're wearing Jade's shoes. Terezi frowns and then her eyes widen as if she's been caught. Her reply is defensive. They were in the wallet. Yeah, I guess I put them in there. I like them. I can take them off if it's creeping you out, though. No, it's fine. It just made me think about the doomed timeline, he means. the state of the session he entered, where he was confronted with billions of pieces of debris from several shattered planets. He pictures Terezi's lifeless body as it collapses onto a corpse-shaped chalk outline she drew for herself. You know what happened, right? The first time we all met up and tried to fight the Condés, we were completely unprepared and basically had our asses handed to us. By which, I mean, everybody died. I think about it a lot. I guess it's kind of hard not to think a lot about seeing all your friends die horrible deaths, but I also think about you from that timeline a lot, too. Me? Why is that? Because you were amazing! I couldn't believe how you could hold it all together while you were literally bleeding to death. Almost like it wasn't even bothering you. Like, you were actually in the process of dying horribly, and you still went to the bother of dunking on me with your scarf instructions. You were so brave! It was like you were undefeatable that day. Like you were refusing to let us lose. I think I carry around that memory whenever I think about you, and maybe why I always feel like you're sort of steamrolling over me when we talk. I think I'm still a little intimidated by you? I guess that sounds kind of stupid, though. Suddenly, Terezi's voice is very small. I remember all that. You do? She nods, smiling grimly. That's why I'm out here. You see, that doomed Terezi missed Vriska so much. It was like a hole in her heart. I remember the way she felt, because on one time, all her memories came flooding back. I even got to see what happened when she died. She and another Vriska ghost finally found each other. It made me so happy getting to feel that, as if it was one of my own memories. It just reinforced the feeling that there was something special between us. And I just kept hanging on to that belief right up until, I don't know, now? I practically devoted my life to certain memories, to the idea that two people can be meant to be with each other on some cosmic level, even if they always seem to get each other into trouble. All that investment, all that searching, and for what? Over a sweep together, and she just disappears into the void again? What a huge bitch. Terezi. His hand is on her shoulder again, and his other hand has found the other shoulder. John notices his own palm grazing up the side of her neck to cup her face. The act was made with barely a thought, and his own boldness surprises himself. You saved everyone! You're the only reason we were able to defeat Lord English and win the game at all! If it weren't for you, me and Roxy would have just floated around in Paradox Space like a couple of losers, with no idea what to do. Even worse, I might have tried to fix things myself. Oh dear God. Yeah! Terezi shrugs out from under his grasp but doesn't move away. Don't get me wrong. I'm not discounting the objective value of my other selves' actions. I'm glad that we didn't all die in a doomed timeline and let Lord English finish eating all of space-time, but I don't feel it. It's not a rational emotion, John. It's like you! Me? Yeah, you! Why are you still out here with me? Because I'm not just going to leave you here to die? You've made very few... Was it overtures? Overtures regarding the subject of going home. You're just letting me continue to pointlessly circle this fucking black hole, even though it's obvious that Vriska is dead. And you're just letting yourself be out here too, as we spiral down the load gaper together. Oh, I don't know? I hadn't thought about it, to be honest. Exactly! Earthsea is perfect, isn't it? But not for you. You don't feel it. John swallows a thick breath. He reminds himself that he never wanted perfection, never asked for it, and yet he feels guilty every day for failing to enjoy it as much as he believes he was supposed to. You're right. I don't. If you've been depressed and antisocial these last few years, I bet that your friends miss you. Probably, but for some reason, I don't feel like I have anything to go home to. You're right, it's not a rational feeling, but it's there anyway. A tear hits his knee, staining his pants dark. He rubs his eyes furiously. He's afraid Terezi will mock him for his childish display of emotion, but she just watches him, patient and sympathetic. She tips her head to one side and asks, "What ended up happening with Roxy?" I don't know. We just sort of stopped hanging out regularly, then she got close with Callie, and I felt too awkward to try to figure out where our relationship stood. Really? What? I just assumed that by now you two might have gotten together. Really? Why? No reason, just a hunch. I don't think it would have worked out, though. What makes you say that? She taps her nose and winks. I don't know. That's what having a hunch fucking means, nerd. Ugh, you're impossible. True, but you like me anyway. Yeah. I actually missed you, you know. More than I thought I did. So I feel like I'm giving Terezi and John similar voices, and the only real differentiator is that Terezi's supposed to be louder, but John's voice is kind of loud for me to get the pitch it needs to be, so it's like they're just sort of talking to each other, and then Jane's voice is the same too. Whatever. They're floating around a black hole. I don't need to worry about this. John wonders after he makes the statement, what if she just needed someone to tell her that she was missed? A bit late to consider the question, but he considers it anyway. Perhaps this will make her want to end the search and come home with him. He wonders if the time is right. The time to ask. Terezi, come home with me. She shakes her head. Her face is turned against the light so he can't read her expression. I'm not ready yet. When will you be ready? I don't know. Maybe never. If you hadn't found me, I probably would have died, right? Is that what I want? Well, obviously not, dummy. If you wanted to die so bad, you wouldn't have eaten all that disgusting shaving cream and tobacco. He gestures to where she still has a smear of shaving cream on the hem of her shirt, crusted over from sitting there for hours. She sniffs at the residue, then lifts her shirt to lick it off, crinkling her nose. You could be onto something. At least let me make a supply run. Maybe I can get you some real food? It seems to him like an uncontroversial compromise to offer, so he pulls back, preparing to travel back to Earthsea via his retcon capability. But Terezi grabs him by the wrist. Wait! Her eyes are wide, her voice cracked and desperate. Don't go, please, John! Stay with me just a little longer. If you leave me now, what if you can never find me again in this moment? Well, we can't stay here forever. I know. He has no idea how to react to her behavior. He's never seen her this vulnerable. She's shaking where she is touching him, and her lower lip is visibly trembling. He nods, and she slowly lets go of his arm. They're silent for a minute. They both stare at the car seats in front of them, sitting close enough to hear the beat of each other's hearts. Do you want me to take a look at your wound? John had gotten so used to the pain he'd almost forgotten about it. He looks down at the place where his shirt has grown stiff from the congealed blood. Now that he dwells on it, he can feel the ache again, both from the tooth piercing his flesh and, more insidiously, from the poison it has been delivering into his bloodstream. Yeah, we should probably do something about that. I feel like if I was going to die from it, I would have done that already, but it's really lodged in there, huh? I thought maybe it'd just come out on its own, like when you get a splinter in your foot. You really are dumb, aren't you? He rolls his eyes. Terezi produces her cane and unsheaths the blade in one fluid motion. The metal rasps against the grain of its sheath rather loudly. I'm sorry, what? No, it doesn't. The noise resounds throughout the sealed interior of the car. Actually, drawing a sword is pretty quiet. It only makes that sound in the movies, and rings through John's skull like a gunshot. Are you seriously manifesting inaccurate physical properties of swords for the sole purpose of antagonize? John reflexively backs up against the door. Oh, fuck this. At the side of the blade. Whoa! Hold still if you don't want to die for real. He holds still. Her eyebrows are knitted with fierce determination. She sets a hand on his thigh and draws the blade up under his shirt. He shivers, letting out a breathy laugh at the coolness of the metal against his bare chest. There's a pinch when the congealed, bloody fabric rips from his skin. He glances down. The wound looks worse than he was imagining. It is far more than just a puncture. An uncanny darkness spreads across his chest. The gashes scabbing at the edges, bruised all around. His entire torso appears to be a mottled mess of purple and yellow, like a sort of fancy earth cheese. Terezi's blade cuts into it as easily as if it were. Ow! Fuck! Ow! Gotta use some warning there, Terezi! What the hell did you think I was going to do with the sword, idiot? She's close enough that her breath washes over his face. It smells like shaving cream and tobacco, which is jarring to him if not surprising. She's without her glasses, and so close that John notices that he hasn't had occasion to before. notices things that, like, he hasn't had, like how lovely her eyes are. The length of her eyelashes, now that he's really seeing them from just inches from his face, is astounding to him. He has never thought of Terezi as particularly feminine, at least in the way humans understand this idea, but he's never been forced to reckon with her features so unavoidably. The dark borders around the perimeter of her eyes are thicker and darker than what most trolls have. The tired bags under them are ditches in the shadows cast by her angular features, made more gaunt from hunger. When she blinks, her lashes brush the ridges of her cheekbones. Her nostrils are flared, assessing the scent of his blood. "Are we doing this, or what?" He presses his eyes shut and nods. He feels numb, clammy, jittering down to his bones from a particular sensation, a feeling he still seems to be denying to himself, as his own thoughts struggle to be honest with him. He cannot disguise the truth from me. What he is fighting is an intense desire to kiss her. Okay. Go for it! She grinds the sword between two of his ribs. The pain returns instantly, his acclamation erased nearly as quickly. He clenches his jaw hard and his head spins, as his blade catches against something. It's lodged in there pretty good. Brace yourself, Egbert, this is gonna sting. He can feel the tooth moving around against his flesh, the fibrous, spasmodic contractions of his muscles around it. When she wrenches the blade and pops the tooth out, he isn't proud of the sound he makes. He finally opens his eyes. Terezi's arms are covered in his blood. She tosses the sword down to the floor of the car in what suddenly strikes John as a fairly unhygienic surgical situation, and grabs his shirt with two clenched red fists. "I need to stop the bleeding! Just follow my lead!" She peels him out of his hoodie and then his shredded t-shirt. He's dizzy. His vision wavers, fades. It takes Terezi's sudden grip on his shoulder to bring him back from the brink. The brink of what, he doesn't know. Unconsciousness, canonic dissolution. He has no cognizance of what the poison in his veins does to someone, or that it's even in his system. All he knows is that Terezi's the only thing keeping him moored. She holds him firm, her thumb in the dip of his clavicle, her sharp nails etching scores in his back. He watches her tear his t-shirt into a long strip. He lifts his arms obediently as she wraps it around his chest and ties it off. Her hands slide over the bandage and linger there. Her fingers splay on his collarbones, her right hand resting above his heart. She slides her palms down his stomach, then around to his hips, leaving long bloody streaks along his torso. His blood, 10 uneven tracks of it, one for each of her fingers. When his arms come down, they wrap around her shoulders. Pulling her into his lap feels natural to him, a simple redirection of her momentum to guide her closer. What comes less naturally is the first Let me find the spot I was on. It's edging towards uncomfortable to read it, but okay. His mind is still lying to itself, casting doubt over what it really wants. I don't see a purpose in allowing his self-deceit to continue for much longer. It's wrong to contradict one's true thoughts and feelings. Irrational, unbecoming of an existence governed by free will. What are you waiting for, John? For fuck's sake, John, don't say anything stupid right now. He nods stupidly and leans forward to kiss her. Terezi attacks, closing the gap between them swiftly. She bites into his mouth, drawing blood when she sucks his lower lip. He twists his hands in the fabric of her shirt so hard it rides up her back. John can't tell if it's the pain or the arousal that's emboldening him. It is neither. He is simply being barred from ignoring his true thoughts. Even without the aid of a juju, he is fortunate enough to be blessed with the only true form of divinity, to be released from the prison of nonsensical inhibitions which so often psychologically hobble the more primitive forms of life. In his newfound clarity, he discovers bravery, pulls Terezi's shirt off all the way, and does what he really wants to do, which is goes his hands all the way up the curve of her spine. She sighs into his mouth. "Oh my god, your blood smells delicious." "Whoa, wow, okay, I think you're really pretty, is in the light of the dead universe." Terezi rears back with a faint snarl and wraps both her hands around his neck. She doesn't press down, but the weight of her thumbs above his throat makes his heart race. "Didn't I tell you? Don't say anything stupid." Careful of her grip around his neck, John locks his arms around her waist and pulls her flush against him. She's ravenous when their mouths collide, her desire intensified by the taste and scent of his blood. She doesn't give him a chance to say anything else for a while, stupid or otherwise. Okay. I don't know if I have it in me to do a Roxy Dave conversation back to back with that, so I think I'm going to have to end this episode here. If you liked it, a like and subscribe will be groovy. If you didn't, you don't need to do either one of those things. If you'd like to click the bell, you can do that as well. And I will see y'all in the next one, which may or may not be even more awkward than that was. We'll find out. Later.